RWD Trim. A few short weeks ago, we had an installer that uses RWD Trim call us and tell us that their trim was popping off after only being installed for about a month. When we noticed the job site was only a few hours away, we decided to go to the job site. Let's look at it ourselves and even help the installer install RWD Trim correctly if they agreed to let us make an installation video. So that's what we did. We jumped in the truck, we drove to the job site, and lo and behold, there's quite a few install errors. So we want to go over those here in a second. And also we made a video on exactly how you should be installing RWD Trim, especially on the exterior. But installation on the exterior and interior, there's no difference. So before we go to that install video, let's take a few pictures. Let's look at a few pictures that we encountered when we got on the job site. In this photo, you can see that the RWD Trim is actually overlapped with another piece of trim, which is a big no-no. You're supposed to butt them up against each other and leave a 1/16 of an inch for expansion. The other issue we have here is that the weld on the top right-hand corner was not shaved down. This does not allow RWD Trim to lay on a flat surface. Even on double hung windows in the very middle, there is a weld that needs to be shaved down. If you don't shave it down, our trim cannot lay on a flat surface and adhere properly. Let's talk about this photo right here, because this is something we see typical when installers are saying that our trim is popping off. Look, our tape is 3/4 of an inch wide, and our installations instructions say that you need to use at least 1/2 inch of that. So if you're not using 2/3 of this tape, you're not installing it properly. You have to give the tape enough room to get a bite on the window. Look here, this is about 1/4 inch of a 1 1/4 inch piece of trim. It's not gonna work. You need to use more of the tape on the actual window frame in order for it to stick properly and bond. All right, now that we've gone through a couple of the issues that we saw on the job site, let's show us putting the trim on the correct way.
I'm just trying to get that initial stick so I can see how this is laying. See, so what we've done here is we've installed the top piece. It goes all the way to where it needs to go on that side, working over to this way, rubbing it down good. We get here and we've done it, we've left it long on purpose, so now we can see what we need to do so we don't see that. If I tried to push that in there, that would be too tight and it would cause a buckle. We don't want to do that. What we want to do is cut it a little more. See, now I have no binding, but I'm just going to go for a little safety measure a little bit more because we got caulk. And so now I can make sure I got nothing behind there, little denatured alcohol there. I can pull the rest of this tape off and I can stick that. You either have an RWD roller, or in this case I've got a rag with denatured alcohol and I'm cleaning them at the same time. So there's a nice good bond there sticking there. You see that's nice and flush. When I caulk that, you won't see that crack. And that's got ample bite on the window, at least, well, it's probably the whole 3/4 of an inch. Now that we've got this top piece installed, we want to measure for the side. This side, if I was to make it as wide as this, the reveal between the bevel and the trim would be a little different. And that's not all that terrible, but in this scenario, I'm going to go ahead and cut this piece of trim 1 1/2 inches wide instead of the 1 3/4. I'll have a slight bit different reveal here, but the most important part is that I'm getting enough stick on the window. And if I cut it the same size as this, the 1 3/4, I'm liable to get into this bevel here, and I'll have to push it in and make it too tight, and we don't want to do that. That's a no-no on that point. So I'm going to go cut this now at 1 1/2 inches, and we'll be right back. So I'm going to score my trim here for the right width that I'm needing. It's always a good thing to remember. The middle score line is for if you want to split this trim in half, and you don't necessarily have to rescore it. Right here, it will break in half regardless. The other 2 score lines on either side of the center, you will need to score that again. Those are typically just a guideline. They're not manufactured deeper, as deep as the middle one. So Let's just always score the outside lines. I'm going to score this, being sure that I stay in the score line. Okay, now we got it scored. We're going to be able to take and bend this back just like this. You see where it's breaking? I'm going to fold it all the way down like this. Then I'm going to go back up here. I'm just going to pull it apart. There we go. Now we've got our piece of trim necessary to do the side piece. So we're back here at the window. We're going to install our side piece of trim. We're going to again take, as a precautionary measure, we're going to wipe the window again. Make sure our handprints and oils hadn't got on it. I'm going to do that. Always use denatured alcohol. We don't recommend anything else for cleaning the window. Okay, so I'm fixing to dry run and fit the side piece here. What I always like to do is just do a little back bend on my trim here, since it has a little memory in it. It's not a lot, but it helps. And I do this, lay it up there. You see, I've trimmed this well down, and that allows me to put this up there, and it doesn't bump out in the corner. If you don't do that, it's not going to stick very well for the first 3 or 4 inches. So always make sure it's trimmed up where that you can get a nice fit. So I'm going to take a little bit of this liner off here, just maybe 3 or 4 inches, and I'm going to just get it started about like that. And I'm going to push it down, and then I'm going to take and I'm going to just make sure that it's falling in the right spot where it's not going to bind all the way down. And this looks really good. So I'm going to take and start pulling my liner off, putting it over. Sometimes I'll leave a little gap here. It's best to leave about a 1/16 of an inch gap. Sometimes it goes in and out, but as long as it's not binding. And you notice I'm not rubbing it down really great at the moment, just in case I had to pull it back off quickly to reposition it. It'll make it easier for me to take it off. So I'm going to get down here really close, and then I'll move my ladder here. I want to make sure I rub this down. Again, I got denatured alcohol on this, so I'm pressing very hard and I'm cleaning it at the same time. The roller is the best thing, but for this video purpose, we'll just do it like this. Rub really hard and make good contact. There'll be no problem after this. Okay, so we're down here at the bottom now. We're going to do our fit on the bottom here. We're going to make sure, of course, we've got enough because I've always cut it long. This is the tricky part, but it can be done. I'm going to cut this probably a little long, just a tad. I'm going to make sure that we're not binding and being tight when we, that to me is a little too tight. So I'm going to cut just a tad more here. And make it fit. That's going to fit really nice. So if you'll notice, I've cut this, fitted in there, got a little gap here, rubbing it down good. I've left just a very little space in the bottom here. You know, the thing that a lot of people do is they say, well, you need to make it tight, like you would, and they'll do it too tight, and then unfortunately that would cause back pressure, and before this tape cures, it will cause back pressure and cause it to bow up, and you'll be going back and doing a repair. I'd rather caulk it and fill it than worry about it popping off. There you go, we're ready for caulking.